Sparky Podcast. We are back. I'm Cam. This is Crowie. Beers and basics. Milton mangoes. Life is good. The sun is out. We're in heaven, I feel.
What's the Milton mango reference?
So the brewery is in Milton, which is an amazing suburb in inner city Brisbane, where the beer is brewed. The nectar of Queensland.
Milton is also on the south coast, down near Ulladulla. A couple of good waves down there.
Great spot, the south coast.
Great spot.
But I digress.
What are we talking about?
In short, bad customers, shit customers, whatever you want to call them. We've all got a
bottom feeders.
Yeah. We've all got a story or a yarn or an experience. I've had many across my journey in the game, both with working for other people and also working for myself. Crowie.
A car just drove past, if you heard that on your radio. Radio? Potty? Whatever.
Let's
anyway,
go through the radio.
Look, fire out. I mean,
have you? Give me something. Tell me something. I want to hear your story.
I would preface this by saying 98 to 99% of the people I dealt with were good.
Yeah.
There was always the 1%, the anomaly. Don't get fixed out.
Do you think it's inevitable that you're going to have bad experiences?
Oh, yeah, you're going to have a bad experience.
So my thought on this, just quickly, while I steal your thunder, my thought bubble around this is that they're inevitable. Doesn't matter what business you go into, you're always going to have a dealing with poor customers, bad customers. It's about limiting those experiences, limiting your exposure, and sort of, I guess, mitigating the risk. But I've got some horror stories. I've got some interesting stories where you tick every single box and it still goes pear-shaped. But love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I remember getting yelled at one day from this guy over this $450 invoice, and he was blowing up about our we called it a small job travel fee. You might call it a service charge, service fee, call-out fee, admin fee, life fee, business fee.
Keeping the car on the road
yeah, keeping the car on the road fee, pay my bills fee, whatever. And he was like going at me hard. And I remember him saying, I know heaps of people at the end of it. So I referenced.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. I feel like when you're in that position, you got to maintain some sense of calm. And I'm a big believer that let's just resolve quickly. So I was like, sweet, let me call you back. I'd always look at the job and be like, what did it cost me? And can I recoup the cost? If I can recoup the cost, I'm happy, we move on. And I was like, yeah, happy to do work for you again. Not. People still do that. The not thing.
Maybe.
So I remember that happened, and that's going to happen from time to time. And sometimes you can reference it to non-ideal client or non-ideal communication. So it's like, if I hadn't communicated that properly, I would say I'm in the wrong there. So I feel like it's a difficult topic to talk about, because if the client's always the problem, and that's why I reference this to be like, there's a lot of good people out there and there's a small amount of bad people out there. So if you're always dealing with dickheads, maybe you're a dickhead.
Yeah.
That's like something hard to ask yourself. Mm-hmm. And if the client's always wrong and you're always right, no one's always right. So I feel like stress and hamster wheel running puts you in a manic state of mind. Manic state of mind makes you unreasonable. Unreasonable makes you always right. Always right makes you a dickhead. So it's like, just be careful on that. But I remember...
you should put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, always right makes you a dickhead. Yeah. But I remember we used to quote, and this is before Ground Plan, we used to quote off Bluebeam. So not quote off Bluebeam, but like do our as-builts or takeoffs off Bluebeam. And we prepare a CAD. I used to say CAD drawing until I realised it was computer articulated drawing. It's like a.
It's like a CAD.
It's like a bad statement, like a business activity statement. That doesn't really make sense. So I remember doing that and preparing it. So we used to quote with that next to it. Mm-hmm. So because I feel like sometimes quotes get jargony, and if someone can combine that jargon with a
picture tells
with a picture of going, like, hey, here's what you're going to get for that price. I remember quoting this builder, and we'd done a fair bit of work for them, and he ended up sending the CAD off to everyone else and my quotes off to everyone else, which I think is not okay. And I remember in that moment, we'd done work for him for like 5 or 6 years. And in that moment, I was like, we're done. Like, I will not work for you again. And this is actually really interesting to talk about because, you know, a dog always returns to its vomit somehow. Like we always go back to our old habits. And I remember we didn't work for him for like 5 or 6 years. And I was pretty frustrated with someone sending my quotes and CADs to someone else. And, you know, where I grew up in Sutherland Shire, it's a very small place, 5 degrees of separation, maybe. Like, not everyone knows everyone. And I had other Sparkies in the area calling me, going, oh, hey, Crowie, just so you know, he's sending out his stuff. Confronted it, and he's like, oh, my junior must have done that, you know. Anyway, so we went back and worked for the person in question again, 5 or 6 years down the track, cooked again. And I was like, why am I learning this lesson again? So they happen, and I think there's ways you can recognize, like if someone's a dickhead, chances are they're always going to be a dickhead, you know. But yeah, they're going to happen to you. And I think in that second situation, it was actually quite a large job, and I had to basically work out what, and I had to ask myself the question first and foremost: was there things I could have communicated better? Mm-hmm. And the answer was yes. In that situation, like my dad was sort of. He passed away in that year, and there was things that fell through the cracks, and I put my hand up for that. And also like, so communication from my end, yeah. But then I had to reconcile, okay, what's the walk away price, and how can we get away with this? How can we walk away without losing money? Yeah, we didn't make money, we didn't lose money. So I think that number is always important to understand, and it's important not to be emotional about the whole thing. So it's hard.
No, it's super hard.
But tell us some sort of dickhead stories.
We had one customer. They're quite a large company, and they.
I know I didn't name.
No.
Can you name them?
No, I'm not going to name mine. No, but we did a job for them. It was, you know, proper legit, like full set of plans, quotes sent, contract written up, purchase order sent. So it was like fully documented. Like I don't think you could document it anymore. And then they just refused to pay anything at all.
What was the job worth?
It was worth about 40, low 40s.
Cool.
Low 40s.
Pay anything or nothing?
Nothing. Yeah. Didn't pay anything. So as time went on, obviously we're chasing it and looking at different, like, you know, to begin with, you're like, what's going on here? And it gets a bit stressful. But after some conversations and dialogue, and, you know, you're talking to the project manager, and then the project manager's no longer there, and then you're talking to the other project manager who you sort of knew, and they're no longer there as well, and they start to drop hints. And what we basically found was that he was just trying to trump us. A terminology I like to use a bit is like the big dick play sort of thing. So he tried to be the biggest dick in the room, but he probably underestimated what lengths I was willing to go to, which is probably a topic for another day about keeping some money in the bank. So we just lawyered up with our lawyer, took him straight to court. It's an extremely stressful, drawn-out process. I want to make that really clear. It's not like you just ring the lawyer and the money turns up in your bank account. The process took from when we finished the job to when we got actually paid was over 12 months. But nevertheless, it was a great outcome because we got paid in full. So I've got a few thoughts on that about, obviously, first we kept it all documented and went down that right pathway with it. We also had the money to go to the lawyers. So we keep money. Like, I'm a big believer in not taking every cent that's in your bank account because it is a business and you need it for a rainy day. So here's a rainy day example. And we had a win. So that was a really negative customer, but learned a lot from it.
Did you recoup any costs?
We recouped a small amount. I pulled the pin after that because it was just going to continually keep going. And I, like you, probably if I was to like summarize it all, because that's just an example that I've had and the example that you've had, the tactic that I always take to the table, whether it's a $450 job, a $40,000 job, is I identify what my break-even cost is. And if I can get to that point, I'm happy to walk away because you're not losing money. That's really important to understand and identify. You're not losing money, you're just not making any money.
Yeah, and sometimes it's cleaner to walk. I remember, it's interesting hearing your court story, because I had a story with someone not paying. I'd love to get into it on another session. It was awful. Like, I was early in business, it was 80 grand, and my experience was, you know, we won the Security Payments Act at that point, and then they went to district court. I think it was district court. Someone could correct me on the pathway. And then we won that. And then it gets to a point after that, the person can front the money. So the client fronted the 80 grand into the next stage. So it was like a never ending stage of business. So I'd spent 30 grand at that point trying to get 80. And then the lawyers actually, because I didn't know the process, the lawyers were kind of, I would say, dangling the carrot. And you go, oh yeah, it's going to cost another 20 grand. I was like, hang on, so I'm going to spend 50 to maybe get 80 and not get my 50 back. Like, and looking back at the whole thing, this is what I learned. Nothing good comes of court. Usually, I know you had a big win.
No. So the real winner are lawyers.
The real winner are lawyers. It's like when a company goes into administration and the administrators get paid first. It's like, we'll take everything and then we might leave something for you. So that's a good topic, administration, actually, at another day. But I remember being, and I remember like flashing back to the very start. I remember watching my mate play footy, and they had arranged for me to catch up on a Sunday afternoon, and I didn't go because I'd had advice from the lawyer not to go, and I should have went, and just because they were trying to give me 40 grand to walk away, and I was like, nah, and the guy was like, you're going to get the 80, you know, stay on your like high horse, and I was too young and inexperienced and misled, I would say. So, and I didn't take the 40, instead spent 30 to get 80, ended up taking the 40 like 6 months down the track.
But you're already
lots of stressful emails, lots of sleepless nights. It was actually wild, and I wouldn't go through it again. So that was like my first experience of that. But it also made me realize the dickhead clients are out there, and I reckon had I sent 5 to 10 emails along the way, that would have been I would have
possibly
resolved the situation. So, but interestingly enough, and I want to sort of land the plane here, that the dickheads can teach you a lot more. So your negative experiences can teach you a lot more than maybe positive experience. So out of our poor experience here, I was like, okay, we're not doing that style work anymore. I'm not going to leave invoicing so long. Our job notes for every single day are going to be really detailed. Our materials are going to be really detailed. Like our invoicing at that point was labor, 20 grand, materials, 30 grand. Like real, you look at it and you go, okay, you're probably okay
Basic.
90 times out of 100, but it's not worth it. And I remember sitting in this meeting with the guys in question, and they were like, what did you guys do this week? It was quite a long job. And I was like, I don't know. So it was like from that moment, I learned, okay, don't put anything emotional in writing, which actually changed my life and trajectory as a business owner. I also learned job notes are the most key things, and itemize out your invoices accordingly. And I also learned, hey, if you've got that break even, walk away, clean it a cut, save yourself the stress. And I think my final sum up is the dickhead clients, what they really cost you is headspace. So, and your headspace is so important. So if you can cut ties with a dickhead and keep your headspace and focus on the good people, then I reckon you're in good stead. So easier said than done. But and also, I guess my double final wrap up is the warning signs are often there. So it's like, what red flags did you miss?
Review it a little bit, analyze it. So,
yeah.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. A little bit about bad customers. Take something away from it. Have the conversations early, I suppose. Maybe go overboard in detail, and also identify what your break even is, because walking away with a bit of money frees up a lot of headspace, which allows you to plan for the future.